Hi guys, and welcome back to another week of Cos-Say. Today I'm here with Lexi, aka Lexi.the.first. So yeah, say hi.
Hi everyone, how's it going?
So yeah, we're just gonna jump right into it the way that we always do. So Lexi, how did you first get into cosplay?
So I actually got into cosplay when I was in high school. I had a friend who was really, really into it. She was super good at it. And I just kind of felt like that perfect mix. I was kind of a theater kid, but I sort of stopped doing it in high school, as a lot of TikTokers are. And I also was just really into anime and like nerd culture, and cosplay kind of felt like where those two sort of collided. And I
Hmm.
really loved that.
So how long have you been cosplaying?
um, Over 10 years since I started back in high school.
Do you happen to remember your first cosplay?
Yes, this one's always kind of a funny question. So the first thing that I guess would maybe be a cosplay, it wasn't really a character, but it was my first ever convention. It was SakuraCon in Seattle, which is an anime con out here. And I just wore like just a generic anime schoolgirl outfit and just like had my hair and I ran around. I had so much fun. Then after that, my first like actual character I cosplayed was Wonder Woman's training outfit from the 2009 animated Wonder Woman movie. So kind of my just anime girl, and then Wonder Woman was my first like real character that I cosplayed.
That's awesome. How many cosplays do you think that you've done over that time?
I would waste a lot of our time sitting here trying to come up with that number. But especially if you're including like AUs and casual versions of different ones and cosplays I've borrowed from friends,
Hmm.
it's that number starts getting real big. Many years.
Do you have a favorite though?
I do. It's kind of a tie. It was Wonder Woman for the longest time. She still means a lot to me as a character, and I just feel really, really confident and powerful when I dress up as her. But other than Wonder Woman, it's definitely Deku from My Hero Academia. That's another character. I always say like Deku is kind of who I am, and Wonder Woman is sort of that ideal you want to be.
Yeah.
So those are like my two favorites.
On the opposite side of the spectrum, do you have one that's like your least favorite?
Ooh. Um, Least favorite is a tricky one because there's like I like maybe I didn't like how I looked at it, or just it's my least favorite character, even if I really enjoyed the cosplay. Um, but I wouldn't necessarily say that there's any that I've disliked too much. Yeah, that least favorite's actually a really tricky one because I feel like with cosplay you don't really like put yourself through it unless there's some sort of
Hmm.
love or passion there. So I don't know if I can answer that one actually.
That's cool. Back to what you said. You said that your first ever convention was Sacra. Sorry, can you repeat it for me? Because I'm gonna mess it up.
Oh yeah, SakuraCon.
Cool. So, do you like remember any other conventions that you've been to over your I can speak English over your past 10 years of cosplaying?
Yes, absolutely. SoccerCon was my first, and then Emerald City Comic Con is actually my favorite convention. That's what I kind of consider my home con, like the one I always want to make it back to every year, no matter where I'm living. I traveled there from Florida, traveled there from California. Um, but Anime Expo is another one that I just went to recently for the first time and was absolutely in love with it. Hallmat, Holiday Matsuri out in Florida was one that I really, really loved. But I've been to a lot of cons, mostly West Coast, and then like West Coast Canada.
Hmm.
But recently I started expanding more to the East Coast conventions. They've been a lot of fun.
Yeah. What was your last one that you remember before COVID hit?
That would be Hallmat, actually. It was my first year at Hallmat, and I was only there on Friday. But I was really, really in love with it. And that one I went just as like a casual Christmas deku, mostly just to see friends while I was in town. And it was really fun. And other than that, my all of my big cos plans were really spring, summer this year. I was going to go back to SakuraCon, an Anime Expo again in summer, and that did not happen. So
Yeah.
Hallmat would be the last one I was at.
Oof. Yeah. That actually same. That was the last convention I was at too. Oh, the last
Oh,
major
you
convention.
there?
Yeah. That was my first and last convention. It was just
Oh,
fun.
what a fun first one though. Hallmat was a good one. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I actually found out about it because of doing the show. It was with one of the cosplayers I was interviewing, so you
That's
guys
so
are
fun.
awesome and always bringing new things into my life. But
Yay!
yeah. Um at these conventions, is there like a distinctive memory that you have that you love to look back on and that reminds you of like why you keep doing this?
Oh wow. There are so many, and this is actually going to sound really funny. It is again hard to pick a specific memory, but I can say across the board, actually, all of my favorite memories aren't necessarily actually at the convention itself, but usually they're like in the hotel room afterwards when you've yeeted your wig and all of your restrictive undergarments. And, it's you and your friends, maybe half in cosplay, mostly out, probably in pajamas, and if you are of age, you are legally consuming adult beverages. You're hanging out in the hotel telling yourself, I'm going to regret this in the morning. And you do because you're now exhausted and you have a headache. But those are definitely the best memories, actually. It's the hotel room or when you go back to someone's place after con and you're all just hanging out. There's probably anime in the background, having a good time. Those are the real moments that you keep going back for.
Yeah. On the opposite side of that, is there like a negative memory that you really think that could teach people in the community what's not okay, or maybe just getting it off your shoulders?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really, really great and important question, actually. Because the first thing that comes to my mind is negative, like photo shoot interactions or photographer interactions or interactions with people who are not respectful of hearing the word no, or maybe new cosplayers who are afraid of saying the word no.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we see a lot of times stories like, oh, I tried to approach this cosplayer and they told me I couldn't take a photo. And no one wants to be that guy that's now mean on the internet. I don't think anyone wants to be mean or hurtful to any other person. But at the same time, we are human beings and we are allowed our boundaries. Sometimes as a new cosplayer, you're afraid to say no to a photographer. And you can say no respectfully, of course, but you're always allowed to say no. Even if they're not a photographer, if someone just wants to take a picture of you and there's something about that that makes you uncomfortable, or you're eating, or you're just sitting and relaxing, or you're trying to find your friends and you're lost, or you're going to a panel, you always have the right to, respectfully say, like, I'm sorry, no. And if you want to explain, sorry, I'm on my way somewhere. Sorry, I'm busy. But you shouldn't have to. You are very well allowed to kindly say no to someone. And that's the same in a photo shoot. If you wanted to take photos and now they're asking you to pose in a way that makes you uncomfortable or pose with another person in a way that makes you uncomfortable, you're allowed to say no to that. Sometimes people get excited and they're like, oh, here's this character and here's this character, and you two are a couple in the anime, or I ship it. Can you guys kiss for a photo? Can you get close to a photo? And you've never seen this person before in your life,
Yeah.
So just being not afraid to say no, I would say, is my biggest thing for a negative at a con that people should learn from, is always knowing that you are in your right to say no, and that's okay.
Yeah. Has that ever happened to you, like personally?
Oh, absolutely. I've even had it happen with friends where, we were there in cosplays together. And they're like, oh, well, can you do this shippy thing? And it's like, even if I know this person, that's still not something we're comfortable doing. Or I have been in situations where I've been, sitting on the ground with my gloves off with a burger half in my face. And some well-meaning person comes up and they're like, oh, I love this character. Can I take a picture? And you're like, full gremlin mode. And you have to be like, I'm so sorry. I'm eating. I hope you find me later, but I'm really sorry.
Yeah. I'm so sorry that that's happened. I definitely think that was a great response, by the way. Thank you. Um, that's something new that I haven't heard before. Of course, it is common courtesy, but a lot of people still don't understand that. Um, Aside from that, there's obviously a lot of positives, and you're very bubbly. So there's so what keeps you so inspired and motivated and happy about all of this?
I'm not gonna lie, it is not always fun. It's especially when you're putting yourself out there publicly, no matter what you do. There's always going to be some kind of negativity. And whether it's on the internet from comments, first rule of the internet, don't read the comments. I do not listen to that often enough. And then even if you're not necessarily a social media personality, if you just wear your cosplay to a convention, well, there's the walk from the hotel room to the con. There's the walk down the street. You're doing photo shoots. There's people seeing you in public in your cosplay. And sometimes people forget that if you have nothing to say, don't say anything at all. And people will make comments and people will say things that are not great. And I definitely feel that, just like everyone else does. Like, I don't want to pretend it's like, yeah, those things don't bother me. It's fine. I ignore them. I have some bad mental health days where those comments really, really get to me, especially particularly comments about my skin tone, which is one that, funnily enough, the more followers I get, the more comments about my skin being incorrect I get. It's been a pretty direct correlation. That has been very interesting for me to see and witness from this side of the screen. But it's definitely one of those things where I have to take a step back and, first of all, look at the amount of negativity to the amount of positivity. And I have to really remind myself, because I think it's just so hard, because the negativity is so much louder. Mm-hmm. Even when there's less of it, it's so much louder, and it's so easy to go down that rabbit hole of that negativity. And so there are days where I have to step back and just focus on the positive. Talking to friends actually helps me a lot, because then you're getting words from people who are actually people in your life that matter. Not Nardo fan 3547 who told me I was ugly.
Yeah.
To your actual friends, people who know you, people who care about you, who witnessed your struggles and your joys and are there for you. And when those are the people telling you, this person's dumb, we love you, you're so happy, keep doing what you're doing, reminding yourself that those are the important pieces, the people who are actually in your life, and reminding yourself that there will always be that negativity, which is why I have gotten some comments saying that, because I've responded to a lot of racist and negative comments on my social media before, and I publicly responded to them. And I've had people call me out for that, saying I'm, feeding the trolls, I should just ignore them, whatever. And there is obviously a point. I don't spend all of my day responding to these negative comments, because you will get tired eventually. Mm-hmm. But I still think it is important, at least for me personally, every once in a while, to answer them, because I think we're all getting these comments. And I think if we ignore them for too long, it enables more of them. And I think that you start thinking, oh, it's just me. There must be something wrong with me because I'm getting these comments. So I do think every once in a while, it is important to help other people with their positivity to publicly address them and address that it's not okay. And that if you are also getting these comments, you are not alone in that. But yeah, it really is about taking that step back to maintain that positivity and reminding yourself that these strangers online are going to say what they're going to say, and they're going to do what they're going to do. And it's never about changing their mind. It's never about convincing them, because they obviously don't care. They're saying these things. It's about reminding yourself that you care and you're proud of the work you do, and you're proud of existing in the skin you have and the body you have and the identity that you have created for yourself. And just really focusing in on that and your real life friends and your real life at the end of the day. The logging off for a while is so critical.
Yeah. Back to because you said that people make comments about your skin tone and other things. How do you respond to that in a way that is respectful to yourself and other people?
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because I do also have a lot of followers who are younger. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times racism is taught, it's not born. This sort of negativity, this sort of hate, it's things that you hear and you absorb, and then you start to believe. And you see other people making these comments on the internet as well, and they reinforce this idea. And so I do want to educate, because I have had some people make these comments and I've responded, and they've actually come around, and I think that's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, it's also not my job to constantly spend my days telling people to stop being racist towards me. Mm-hmm. So there is that line that you have to draw between educating and then just standing up for yourself and creating a safe space for yourself in your little pocket of the internet and your little pocket of the world, whatever it may be. So I always try to step back. And when I respond, one of the biggest questions I ask myself is, do I feel like this response represents who I am as a person? And a lot of times the really, really angry, the really, really aggressive responses, which may some people respond that way because they're mad and they've been through even worse than I have. And those responses for those people and those creators are still absolutely valid because, again, it is not their responsibility to educate others. But for me personally, I feel like I feel like I can still be stern and represent myself. I feel like I can still stand up for myself and represent myself. But it is just about stepping back. And when I look at my responses, I really just ask myself, do I feel like this represents the energy that I want to create and the person that I want to be? And sometimes that does mean being firmer because I am a person who believes in standing up for myself and for my friends and for what's right. But yeah, that's a big question I think I ask myself, and kind of figuring out where my personal line is on how I want to respond to that kind of negativity.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a jump from that because that was super super deep. I want to go.
Sorry.
No,
Topic. It's one of those things you can't take it lightly, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. I love hearing about different people's experiences because, as you said, there you need to educate, but there's also a point in which it's not your job. So people seeing this, I hope that it does help a little bit. You're a fantastic cosplayer, and
Thank you.
I genuinely for a second forgot that racism existed. You're one of my favorite Dekus, by the way. Like seriously. But yeah, so hearing your response definitely does educate, and I hope it helps somebody understand. But yeah.
Me too.
Now back to the lighter stuff. So what do, so for cosplay, how does your cosplay process look? Like how does getting ready look for you?
Ooh, so in terms of just getting ready, like let's say the cosplay is already made, the wig styled, everything, it really is just like everything else in my life. First of all, avoiding getting dressed for as long as humanly possible. It is, what can I do before I have to actually put the costume on my body?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm at home, I'm the kind of person, I live in like shorts and a sports bra 24/7, given the option. So like all the layers and stuff, I just, ugh. So I always start with the makeup, because that's also emotionally very difficult for me to sit down and put that on my face, because you just want to be, I just want to be comfortable all the time. Like I'm such a gremlin. I really cannot emphasize enough like how much of a gremlin I am. If I get home at noon and I have to be somewhere again at 2 p.m., I'm still taking off my pants and putting on sweats for those 2 hours. Like I'm not staying dressed in outside clothing. So it's emotionally hyping myself up to put on the makeup, and then that'll usually go first. If I have colored contacts, those will go in first, so I'm not messing up my makeup trying to get those in. And then it'll be from makeup, and then depending on like the clothing and the wig, and how it all has to go on. Usually then it'll probably be the cosplay, and then the wig, and then going into whatever the day will hold, whether it's a con, a photo shoot, TikToks.
Yeah. Do you have something that you think makes you unique as a cosplayer?
I don't know. I mean, there's got to be something, because no two of us are the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I would say just the things that make me unique as a person are the same things that translate to make me unique as a cosplayer. Because I don't think there's necessarily anything creatively or artistically that no one else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not to say that again, I don't have my own artistic vision, but no matter what, someone else is doing something or some technique that you've done. I would say it's just the one thing that I have that is mostly me is my feelings about these characters that I cosplay, and my take on them, and my love of storytelling. I know is a really big thing that isn't only something that I do, but is something that maybe separates me from a lot of other cosplayers who are more interested in the design, and the aesthetic and those things that are really, really beautiful. Like I wish I could be like them. Like please believe this is not a dig. That is so stunning.
Give me a second. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
My dad decided to call, so that's fine.
Oh, hi, Dad.
No, I hung up on him real quick because. So spoiler alert, but I have a MacBook Pro, so anything that happens on my phone happens on my laptop as well.
Oh.
So it automatically like pulled my screen aside. It was like, Dad's calling. I was like, cool. Sorry.
That's fine. But for me, the thing, I love the aesthetic as well, but more than the aesthetic, I love the storytelling aspect of cosplay. Again, it's that old theater kid in me. I love being able to tell a story, whether it's an AU or just my headcanon about the canon verse or whatever it may be. Really being able to tell a story or like just share my feelings about this fictional universe through my cosplay is definitely one of my favorite things about the art form in general. So I like to think that shows in the work that I do.
It definitely does. There are some questions that I feel like are probably more frequently asked for you that are personal, not personal, but like specifically yours. From the questions that you got asked, a lot of them are like asking like how do you style your wigs or where do you get a lot of your cosplay stuff, or talking about your cosplans. Do you want to answer some of those?
Yeah, I mean, I actually love always getting the chance to address so it's kind of like a sweeping thing that how do you style your wigs? Where do you get your cosplays? Do you have tips for beginning cosplayers?
Mm-hmm.
Is another one that I get a ton. How do you do your makeup? And I think that one of the things that kind of gets very intimidating about cosplay as a hobby or an art form or however you take it, and one of the things that can be very intimidating if you're new or hard to understand if you're new is that yes, cosplay is a thing in and of itself, but more than that, it's really a combination of 20 different art forms. You know, it's a makeup artist, a wig styler, someone who can sew, someone who builds props, photography. It's all of these different things combined into cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
So asking for tips, I think the best thing I can do for a beginning tip are saying things like, you know, don't compare yourself to others. You just have to dive right in. Google's your best friend. Because you can't really give specific general tips. Like even if you're a hairstylist, learning to cut bangs doesn't mean you can know how to French braid. Every single wig had a different technique and style that went into it. Every single costume did, came from a different resource. Every single makeup look is 30 different makeup techniques, you know, removed and combined and modified. And then there's the little things where like, but then things I modified to fit my face and my body type or my aesthetic that may not apply to everyone else. So I would just say like, seriously, Google is your best friend, breaking it down to figuring out what do I actually want to know? Like if you're asking about wig styling, do you want to know how to make anime spikes? Do you want to know how to do bangs? Do you want to know a princess hairstyle? Breaking down your cosplay questions to specific inquiries and finding those small answers is what I swear to you will save your life. That is what will get you through a cosplay. That is what will get you the answers that you seek. And if you get to a point where you're like, I am specifically trying to figure out how to do, you know, this specific thing. I'm trying to figure out how to do Deku's curls in a way that feel natural and I can't find anything online, then present that question maybe to a cosplayer who can be able to answer it for you. But the very, very general questions, they just don't have an answer really.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never trying to hide my knowledge from anyone. I'm always more than willing to share and answer questions, but specific questions will help you better.
Yeah. Somebody did ask about your cosplans. Do you have any of those?
Yes, the one that I am working on right now that I've been raving about for months, if not like the past year, that is finally starting to come together is my Pro Hero Deku cosplay. This one is an original design. I sketched it out, and I finally found my dream fabric that I have been looking for forever, and it's perfect. And I ordered it, and I don't know if it's one of the boxes that's in the corner of my room since I haven't opened it yet. But that is the big thing. And I've got a couple other things. I've got a casual Kirishima, Mirko, a lot of my hero stuff, and a couple other ones as well that will be coming out. But the big one that I'm really, really excited about is my Pro Hero Deku. Who knows? Maybe I'll retire after that. Maybe that'll be my grand finale.
So you said you found your dream fabric. Are you actually like sewing it and putting it together?
I am. Yes. So I used to make all of my costumes from scratch because when I first started, there really weren't as many resources as there are now. And I just thought that that's what cosplay meant and that you had to do that. And I hate sewing. So as soon as a few years passed and I realized I had the option to focus on like prop and wig and makeup and then order things online or, you know, work with other commissioners, I started doing that more. However, I still have the old skills in my hands, despite my lack of love for it. But with Pro Hero Deku, this is like such a dream build for me, that I really wanted it to be like from start to finish, like we're going in on this. I just have to give a shout out to Little Mantis Cosplay, who styled my Pro Hero Deku wig, because I found the base, picked the color, I put in all the roots because I wanted him to have the black roots. And I did all of that, and it came to making the first cut, and I just was so scared. And after all like the money and hours I put into the base of the wig, I was like, I can't. So they did cut the wig for me. But other than that, this is going to be my baby.
So, you were talking about your skills. What other skills do you think that that have you picked up from cosplaying?
Ooh, makeup is definitely a big one. I also have worked in the performing arts, so I've kind of developed makeup from there. But the replication makeup, the art of really translating like animated makeup to real life, I have found has been one of actually my favorite parts about cosplay. I think makeup is such an underrated part of cosplay because I think there's the stereotype that makeup has that vanity attached to it. That if of all the skills, if makeup is your art form, then you care about how people look. But for me, it's really the fun of taking your human face and translating it into this fictional character with the base you have and with the makeup you have available. I think that's a really, really fun and cool art form. I can do basic wig styling, but I'm working on that. I want to get better at that. I can sew mostly spandex. I'm actually ironically better at sewing spandex than I am at non-stretch fabrics because that's what I started on. So that's like what I do there. And then prop building is a huge passion of mine. I haven't necessarily had the workshop space I've had in the past to do it as much as I'd like, but that is something that I love.
That's awesome. That is all of the questions that I have. But do you have anything that you'd want to say to your fans, followers, or friends that are watching?
Yeah, I guess the biggest one is just, the cosplay community doesn't exist in a bubble. A lot of the negativity that exists in just the world exists in the cosplay community because we're all humans. None of us only exist in the cosplay community. All different parts of society and different parts of our lives. I think there's been a really big call to make the cosplay community a better place and a safer place and a more wonderful place. And I think that's a great thing. And I think that it's important to acknowledge where a lot of that negativity is coming from. I think it's important to keep speaking out about it. And I just have to say thank you to everyone who has made the cosplay community a better place and a safer place for people who do have to deal with that negativity, even outside of this community. I don't think it's ever going to be perfect because we're all still humans, Yeah. And there is sometimes problematic content even in the media we absorb, in our TV shows, in our anime, in our books, that we have to sort of address as well. And I just think it's really, really wonderful that the community has tried to put their foot down as much as they have. I think it's important that we keep standing up for each other, so we're not just existing in our bubbles, coming together as a community and watching the nerd community come together as a community over the past, 10 plus years I've been doing this has really been a beautiful thing. So thank you to everyone who's been a part of this. Don't lose that sense of community. Don't think that we are exempt from the troubles of the world. Stand up for your friends. Stand up for yourselves, and keep working to build the community up because it's on a really good track right now, and I'd love to see that keep going.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you want to drop your social media? It's also going to be down in the video description as it always is, guys.
Yep, I am lexi.the.first or lexi.the.first.cos, some variation of on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, pretty much everywhere. So come find me and say hello somewhere.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode. I'll see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.